is Jesse.
This is Randy.
This is Melanie.
Welcome to the Grawlix podcast.
Yay, that was so fun.
Hey.
So this episode, we are discussing Batman White Knight. And yes, I do fully realize that came out a while ago. And it may seem like that's a weird pick. Why are you doing that one? Is that on the pull list? No, this is not. We just read it because we wanted to. And the new series started coming out, Curse of the White Knight, kind of his sequel series, miniseries, whatever they call it, limited run series. And so we were like, well, this is a good opportunity to, it's a good excuse to talk about the first one because Jesse and I had things to say about it anyway.
Well, I mean, everything in the world is about the Joker now. So, 5 different Joker movies going to be coming out.
What?
So, I mean, we should do something about the Joker. And hey, Batman White Knight is about the Joker.
It is.
I don't really actually feel like it's about Joker. I feel like it's more about his love interests.
It kind of is. Batman White Knight is a comic book limited series created by Sean Murphy. It was 8 issues, published originally from 2017 into 2018 by DC Comics, of course. I believe this was their Black Label imprint to where they can say swears.
Oh, yeah.
I think this was when they first launched it. There was this Batman the Damned, which I think is the one that they had a Batman penis in that they had to re-release and censor or something. Apparently they went a little too Black Label for their Black Label. People got upset.
But once you go Black Label, you don't go back label.
Wow. So this was written with art by Sean Murphy, and the colorist is Matt Hollingsworth. So this is essentially an Elseworlds tale. I feel like the people who fill out Wikipedia sometimes don't understand what a synopsis is.
No.
Because this is very long.
Basically the whole plot.
Yeah. That is not a synopsis. You know what? I bet Amazon has an actual synopsis. A Newsweek Best Graphic Novel of the Year. The impossible has happened. The Joker has become a hero? Question mark? Batman White Knight follows the man now known as Jack Napier as he embarks on a quest to heal the city he once terrorized. After reconciling with his long-suffering partner Harley Quinn, he sets in motion a carefully plotted campaign to discredit the one person whom he views as Gotham City's true enemy, Batman. His crusade exposes a decades-long history of corruption within the Gotham City Police Department and transforms Napier into a city councilman and civic hero. But when the sins of his past return to threaten everything that he has accomplished, interesting way to look at it, I guess, the distinctions between savior and destroyer begin to break down for both the Joker and Batman alike. And with them, any hope of Gotham's future. Writer and artist Sean Murphy delivers an extraordinary examination of comics' greatest antagonists in Batman White Knight, exploring justice, corruption, activism, and the darkest depths of mental illness. Oh, this was the debut of the DC Black Label imprint. That's how they could say BS words.
Yeah, BS words. I don't know how accurate that was. Seems taking liberties.
Seems like it's taking liberties?
Yes.
I'll say, I don't know why. This was one of the news stories that kind of broke through. Mm-hmm. And other than the fact that, we do Grawlix and I used to keep an eye on comic stories.
Right.
Used to. But
it's Batman.
Maybe that's it. But it broke through and so I'd heard about this when it was announced initially, because it's the whole idea of Sean Murphy, who is somebody I enjoy, and I think I follow on Twitter, an artist I enjoy, I should say. Sean Murphy is doing a book where Batman's the villain and Joker's the hero, which is not totally accurate, but I mean, basically that's the concept. How can we make that that?
Yeah.
So it caught my interest. I never got around to it until I read about Curse of the White Knight coming out. And I was like, oh yeah, the White Knight was a thing that I wanted to read. So I searched it out after the sequel series, which just started coming out, was announced. And I read it and I raved about it to you, but more specifically to Jesse, because I know he cared more.
Yeah.
Well, and I actually had it was on my pull file, so I had all the floppies, and I just still had not read them. And so this was a really good opportunity to do that.
And Melanie read them last night / this morning.
Yep.
We were up till 6 a.m.
You didn't have to stay up with me. You could have gone to bed.
It's my fault, though. I didn't get you a copy. Otherwise, you would have read it, because you actually read more comics than you needed to this month, which is amazing.
Thank you.
Yep. But yeah, as inferred, I was raving about it because I really enjoyed this. I have not been reading a lot of comics lately for a while, hence the reason there's not a whole lot of like Grawlix months where we just talk comics. But I was trying to get into some comics. I tried to catch up on, this is how far back I am, like some of the Dark Knight's metal stuff that Scott Snyder was doing. Just couldn't break into it. Like, just wasn't feeling it. But this book, I like blew through in a sitting. So I really like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing's 8 issues long. So, I mean, the fact that you did it all in one sitting is pretty impressive.
Technically twice. I did.
Right.
I skipped over. I reread it last night too while Melanie was reading it, and I skipped over some of the stuff. There's some subplot that I didn't care to reread.
Sure.
But I essentially read it, all of it again in one sitting last night too. So, Jesse, what did you think of this?
Yeah, I really liked it. Same thing. I read the article about it before it came out and thought it was interesting, at least the concept. And I also liked that they were doing this kind of like they kind of build it as almost the Jokers versus the elite, you know, like the gatekeepers of Gotham kind of thing. And I was like, well, that's meaty. That's interesting. So it's got kind of a strange political hook that I'm into.
Okay, Melanie, I was not being rude by making you go last. There's a specific reason I wanted you to go last. Melanie, what did you think of this book?
It was okay, I guess.
You had a lot of complaints while reading it.
Okay, I had a lot of complaints while reading it.
And
I did know about it, but I only knew about it because I heard you talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I still was slightly confused, and I was thinking for some reason that it was like Sailor Moon guy, you know?
Who?
I don't know, that guy that dresses in a big white cape.
Oh, Moon Knight?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's White Knight?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't what I thought.
It's not Moon Knight, no. Moon Knight's a Marvel character.
Well,
Moon Knight is kind of Marvel's Batman in a way, a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, maybe not.
Okay. And there was a lot of it that I was not accepting of. I'll say that. How's that?
Okay. Okay. Not as explosive as
if we tried to pretend like this book was a reality, it would not work. Let's just say that.
I was gonna say your reaction on here was not as explosive as I was expecting. That's why I had you go last, because I thought you were gonna be like, it sucked. But while reading it, you had reactions to things that I was not expecting, because you had very negative reactions to some of my favorite elements of it.
Yeah, I know.
Which is fine. That's why.
Well, partially, I think it diminishes the character. So, you just want me to jump in it?
Yeah, okay, spoiler warning. In case you haven't read White Knight, know at least 2 of us give a very high recommend on this, and one of us, whatever, has problems with it. Maybe not so high a recommend.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't complete crap, but...
Oh, there you go. Glowing. So if you haven't read it, I hate to tell you to leave, but maybe bail out now. Because, let's jump into spoilers.
Okay.
Because they start fairly early.
Yeah.
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 All right. So, Melanie,
how in the world is there going to be 2 freaking different Harley Quinns? It's not... First of all, that nobody would notice that. And Randy's like, well, she's not... She usually wears a mask, but everybody knows who she is. She's freaking a famous doctor, Everybody knows who she is, and this other chick is not her. So why do they act like nobody would notice that? It's impossible. And okay, Joker's crazy. Maybe he wouldn't notice, but everyone else in the world would know this.
But who would be there to notice? Batman? It seemed like Batman knew.
He did know.
Well,
yeah,
of course he did
kind of
know.
helped set up her life, kind of thing.
Yeah, and who else is gonna really? Maybe the police knew, but she's still like a fugitive, so it's not like either, she's coming in. So for the most part, if you get close enough to challenge her, you're looking at Joker and Harley. Most people are going to not even just care or want to bother with it.
Well, and the real Harley Quinn, she was on parole or something. She was under good behavior kind of thing. So she wasn't doing anything wrong. So the police were probably like, well, we gotta actually bust the one that's causing crime, you know?
Yeah, but she's not Harley Quinn.
But my thinking is like, they're probably just like, well, who cares? How many Robins? That's clearly not the same Robin. That's clearly not the same whoever. Like, that's how it works in comic book world. Sometimes it's like, you're a different person, but okay, I guess you're Harley Quinn now. Sure.
I don't like it.
Plus, the Joker is the Joker and totally seems like the kind of guy who would randomly show up with the same group of people, but they're all different people dressed up like that same group of people. Like, I don't know.
Maybe. But I don't really buy him loving either of them either. Not even in his normal person form. I don't buy it.
Well, why not his normal person form? Because if you don't buy that, that's kind of integral to...
It is. That's one of the reasons I don't like the
plausibility
book,
of the whole story.
And same reason I don't buy her bullcrap. I love him despite it. No, because you never met him. You don't know him. The only person you ever met was Joker. That's the only person she ever knew. She loved Joker. She did not love Jack Rainier. She never met him. She didn't know him. Okay, so there's that. And then he never met her either. How does he love her? He doesn't know her. He never met her. Joker met her. If they're making him a different person, then...
That complaint with her is valid. And the other Harley even tells her that.
Yeah.
It's like, you fell in love with the Joker, though.
Yeah.
She's like, but I could see the man behind the eyes. But the inference with him is that Jack's always in there.
Okay.
So Jack could have fallen in love with her.
But he doesn't remember things that he did as a Joker, so...
He doesn't remember emotional plot point beat relevant things.
Yeah.
He seems to remember other things.
And still, even so, why would he love her then? Because she went crazy and helped him murder people? I don't think so. I don't buy it. I don't buy any of it. But this is, like I said, this is if you want to bring it into reality. But it's a comic book. You don't have to do that if you don't want to.
I mean, it is a comic book. well, here's the thing, though. Then you can never explore the Harley Quinn Joker relationship in a comic book story in any way that would satisfy you.
No, I can. With Harley Quinn and Joker.
Well,
Bam. No, not Jack Rainier. That's what I'm saying.
Jack Napier.
Napier, whatever. I said it backwards.
You did. Did you just mixel-plick him out of existence or something? Is that what you're trying to do?
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, there's Melanie's thoughts. I love this Harley Quinn thing. I love the two Harley Quinns. The little switch, this little twist kind of made the book for me. I thought it was great because new Harley Quinn is definitely not old Harley Quinn. She's very different. I mean, for the most part, new Harley Quinn is DC Deadpool, other than the visual redesign. But I love acknowledging that her character is substantially changed and taking that to the max to where it's like, no, yeah, because she's different. She's a different person.
Yeah, because she's not even Harley Quinn. I was on board for that as well for the same reason, because it's like a meta indictment of the new Harley Quinn. But
It really is.
At the same time, like it made that it actually made that Harley Quinn more interesting to me as well, because she is crazy. She is, like she takes a weird dark turn that I kind of like.
She's crazy just because she's a cutter. That doesn't mean she's crazy.
I will agree. One of your complaints you had about her specifically is that her backstory sucks.
It does.
And I will agree, like, there's not much to it. It's like she was a cutter. You don't really get much beyond that. She's obviously unbalanced, we'll say. And you don't get much beyond that. So that's fine. I agree that's kind of weak. But I do like that it wasn't just like the new Harley sucks and she's kind of a setback for feminism and she's kind of dumb. Because he did play that card. He did do that, essentially. But then he's just like, well, but here will make her... He doesn't make her own because she becomes Neo Joker.
Yeah.
But I like his redesign. He makes her cooler.
Yeah, she is cooler. I will admit.
He at least then does something cool with her character.
Mm-hmm.
And she's Marianne Drews.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought the Harley thing was clever. I liked then the depiction of old Harley. She's super smart and she basically, spoilers, mastermind the entire thing.
Right.
Like from before, really, it kind of seemed like before Joker was even involved.
Yeah, and I don't really understand it all. Is she really gonna just assume that these things will work?
What, the pills?
Yeah, she doesn't know anything about them. They haven't been tested.
She designed them. It's a little bit of a stretch, I know, but apparently, that's another reveal at the end when you get that big twist that she's behind it all. Batman's like, so you designed these drugs and blah, 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 blah. And I admit that's a little bit of a stretch, but, since she stopped being the main Harley, what's she been doing?
She is
studying pharmacy stuff,
she's
maybe?
the only Harley the other one's marrying. But okay, yeah. I know why everybody in Gotham is crazy.
Why? Because
they have these big, weird underground tunnels leaking like lead and whatever into their drinking water. Excuse my language.
Did you supply a beep so I could just cut that out and put it over there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
I ain't done talking about Harley. I really like the three-way dynamic, the love triangle dynamic, because, and that's not new. Like, what's his name? What's his name that created Harley? Because she's one of the very few characters, at least at the time, that was created for like another media and then came to comics. But she was created for the Batman animated series. Paul Dini?
Yeah, Paul Dini. Yep.
Paul Dini. He created her. But even like his stories played on that to where she was all kind of the neglected lover and jealous because Joker's in love with Batman, essentially. But he's obsessed with Batman. And that's Paul Dini there's a really good story about that. He's done that already in animated form. So that's not new, but I liked the way they played that in this to where Harley's not necessarily friends with Batman, but they kind of have an interesting, friendly demeanor in a like
ex-wife kind of way.
Kind of like they're both like, yeah, two former or current or estranged partners of the same person.
Yeah.
Kind of have to get along for the better of the
kids
person, or yeah. In this case, for the better of the Joker, their link. But I like there's two times when they have conversations on the rooftop, 2 or 3, and I really enjoyed those. I thought those were pretty well done. I also like when Batman snaps, like things are really about to like tumble for him. And he yells and punches the thing. I also enjoy that he yells about he's a violent sociopathic criminal, blah blah blah, as he's like breaking bricks with his fists.
Yeah.
And you're like, But then Joker comes out and he's like, I've never heard him yell like that. We must be really getting under his skin. And Harley's like, stop it. Like she's PO'd at Joker because she's just like, this is ridiculous. I just like that whole dynamic. But throwing Jack/Joker in there and new Harley, it's not even like a love triangle. It's like a love
quadrangle.
Yeah. Or what's a 5-sided thing of
pentagram?
It's a love pentagram. The story got even cooler.
Inverted pentagram at that because it's the Joker.
So how about, since this is an Elseworld story, and one thing I really liked about is the essential plot line. And God, I kind of wish they would do it in canon. I would take this Harley situation in canon. That'd be awesome. But I feel like the basic plot line of this, you could do in a canon Batman story. But it is an Elseworlds tale, and there are things they changed. And there's things they couldn't do in a canon story. Like the Alfred thing.
Yeah.
And the Jason Todd thing. Like they retconned that.
It also seemed weird because Nightwing's Dick Grayson in this, I'm assuming. But he said Jason Todd was before him.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. When he's talking to Barbara in the graveyard.
Yeah, he does.
He says Jason Todd, he was always kind of jealous because Jason Todd, he felt like Bruce was closer to Jason Todd until Jason Todd died or disappeared. And then that's why Bruce would never get close to Dick.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really weird decision.
Yeah. I mean, it made sense because then that explains the world without Robin. And it does make sense in that Batman just should not have continued having Robins after Jason Todd. As much as I love Tim Drake, he just should never have had another Robin. I mean, you let the boy die. I mean, not let him die, but, you know, you put him in harm's way and he died.
Yeah. And then he let his kid... I'm sorry.
Damian's an interesting case.
Yeah.
I think the way Grant Morrison handled Damian was super smart because Damian is one of those things where he was raised to be an assassin. If Batman didn't make him Robin, he'd be a killer out there.
Right.
So I think that was super smart. It's about the only way you could justify doing another Robin, especially somebody that young. Like Damian is super young.
Super young.
So a lot of people hate Damian. I
love Damian.
I kind of like Damian. Yeah, I think he's great.
Me too.
God, I haven't read. I need to read some more DC comics. I need to get caught up. What's Damian doing these days? Is he dead again? He better not be.
No idea. These are the newest comics I've read. And at the end of issue 1, there's a memoriam for Len Wein. So, like, that'll show you how old these are, actually.
Yeah.
So, Jesse, we never asked your opinion. What do you think of the...
Oh, of Harley?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her. I mean, mainly because I'm not a huge fan of the current DC Comics Harley. And so them saying, well, the reason she's so awful is that she's not actually Harley. So I kind of enjoyed that meta twist. But I mean, I didn't think about it much more beyond that, though. And I did like that she's smart because that's the one thing that has always annoyed me about Harley Quinn, even back in the animated series, is how she acts like such the ditz. Mm-hmm. And that last thing we read with Harley in it was downright painful.
What was
Paradise
that?
Lost, where she just like wasn't getting it.
Oh, and that was old Harley too, even. Yeah. I would buy her, like, that's her Harley Quinn character. When she's in the costume, she's hanging out with whoever. Mr. J, like, I get that as a character. But the problem with the Paradise Lost thing is they just genuinely made her that dumb.
Right.
And I don't think she's really no, it should be like this. She's super smart. But I could see her being, like, putting on the character because it's fun.
Yeah.
But in Paradise Lost, eventually she'd be like, all right, I'm tired of this character. You guys need to do this and this.
Right.
Figure this out. Or,
yeah,
you know,
I've
I
had
don't know.
nothing else to do. But
she's a psychiatrist. She could try to get Joker to come out and, you know, be the opposite of what she wants here.
I like the few times in the things that I've seen where they do something like that with Harley, where she's doing them, you know, the pudding, whatever thing. And then something happens, and then she'll like spew out a bunch of like actually super intelligent stuff, and people are like, "Oh yeah, that's right," you know.
And she even says it in this. She says it to Jack, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But she's like, "I was a psychiatrist. Like, why you look at me like that? You know this." But I like that idea of someone who plays dumb because that could be potentially an advantage.
Yeah.
Except in this, she doesn't really do that. She's just.
What was the thing where she murdered cartoons? That was in something we saw not too long ago, isn't it?
I don't know. You were reading the Harley Quinn series for a little while, and I think you read Beyond Me, and then stopped.
I don't know. There was something where there was just like cartoon things there, and she fed them all poisonous carrots, and then.
That definitely sounds like what the type of stuff they were doing, because the Harley Quinn series was going, and she was 100% the DC Deadpool. Mm-hmm. And they even did like a Harley Quinn at Comic-Con type issues of stuff.
My.
Yeah, she became their meta character.
It was.
Yeah. Which, whatever, was fine, but...
Well, I like Deadpool, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but I don't know. That's part of why I really like we'll get off the Harley Quinn thing here after this.
Yeah. That's
part of why I really like the Harley Quinn thing in this, because I like the older version. I think what this book portrays as the actual Harley is a much more interesting character to me.
Mm-hmm. I hate her hat.
I'm not a big fan. I've never been a fan of Harley's costume. I get that it's the Harley Quinn thing, but yeah.
It's ugly. Batman. He wasn't really in it a whole lot in the beginning for the first many issues, but I don't know that I would really think that Batman would be as inconsiderate as they act like he is.
They really lean into the untethered, on the edge, just blinders on Batman. And they kind of explain it away as Alfred's sick.
Right.
I like that kind of Batman story. You know, they do that occasionally whenever they need to, like, you know, oh, Batman's going too far. But he goes to the extreme to where he's just an idiot. He becomes an idiot. When he wrecks that bridge,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, and I get they have to push him that far because they have to, like, all right, no, we can't just turn a blind, we have to arrest Batman. Like, this is too far. Because they had him. They you know.
Yeah, but he didn't want them to have him.
But he wanted to protect his family,
Right.
which he said. But I feel like that's crap. He just wanted to show them that he's not obsolete. And they can't do it better than him. Except they were. And he destroyed a boat and a bridge and probably murdered lots of people. Though they didn't really get into that.
Yeah.
When he kept practically ran over a guard at one point and blew up the Joker's library, and you know that was all planned, but like it's sloppy Batman, you know.
He don't usually work that way.
No. Well, I like it. It played on the idea of like all the collateral damage that happens. And yeah, in most things, he's not causing the situation. But I don't know. It makes me think of The Dark Knight, where he's just like destroying chunks of bridges and stuff with the tumbler. It kind of plays on that thing to where just a total disregard for public and private property, both of which he gets, you know, charged with. But they even then play on that to where they have the Batman fund set up. And Joker tries to use that as ammo against him, you know, politically, where he's like, you know, why are they using your taxpayer money for this? Well, then it turns out they're not.
Well,
It's
that
all
was
funded through Wayne.
As soon
Enterprises.
as they brought that up, I'm like, the dude's like a billionaire. I'm pretty sure he probably tosses that in, you know, randomly all the time.
But yeah, but they hadn't like connected it to Wayne yet, or at least Jack hadn't, even though Joker knows.
He acted like he knew the whole time.
He kind of did.
And how did he not know that Joker or that Bruce Wayne was Batman if he was the Joker and he remembered what the Joker remembered?
But
Oh,
he didn't remember all the stuff that the
did.
Joker
I
remembered.
know. I'm just saying.
Because the Joker held stuff away from him to keep power over him.
My buttocks.
I mean, I like that they at least played on that trait a couple times because they did it with Harley as well, where I don't remember what it was, but he held something, he would hold things over people. So they pulled that up a couple times. So at least they kind of made that a consistent trait of the Joker,
Yeah.
which is also a very real trait that people do, and I hate it. And I've known lots of people that do that, and just in little ways, little petty ways, lots of people do that. But
Really?
oh yeah, you never met. Well, I'm sure you have, even if you don't realize it. But I've known some people where it's so obvious, where they will get a piece of information about something or somebody, and they'll intentionally hold it over people because it makes them feel like they have power over them or they're above them. It's not a good trait to have,
No.
but it's a very real trait that lots of people have. Oh, I was going to say, but I did enjoy that Bruce Wayne specifically, doesn't realize how the rich people take advantage of all the destruction that Batman causes. And he gets super upset to where he starts headbutting and knocking out random people at this, upscale elitist dinner party that he's at.
And that is one thing, really spoilers, that is something they're still dealing with. As for this recording, there's issue 1 of Curse of the White Knight is out, and they're still dealing with that whole corruption thing.
Interesting.
Well, that's one of the things that I did like about it, because that's something that it should focus on in this comic book and in real life, because it's the racism thing, where there's a lot of white people that are racist, but they don't realize that they're racist because they live in a white insulated world that protects them from their own racism, you know?
Yeah.
And I think Bruce Wayne is one of those people.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't realize that he's the giant D-bag that he is, but...
And it's not that he's racist. He just, he doesn't realize that group is as corrupt and racist as they are. Although he's got to, because he gets upset because, so there's a whole thing like the poor neighborhood is Backport. And I appreciate kind of how stupid but real this thing is, where one of the rich ladies at the party says, Blackport.
Yeah.
And Bruce Wayne's like, that's when he starts to like really lose it. He's like, it's Backport. Like he gets super upset. But that kind of ties into the whole racial thing. Like there's race riot. Like the talk, there was a race riot, and then like Jack Napier kind of stirs that up a little bit to his advantage politically.
That's why he's the White Knight. Ah!
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
The use of politics is super interesting in this. And the way Sean Murphy approaches it is kind of interesting because it's not, and to be honest, I'm very conflicted about when writers, I get it. This is supposed to appeal to everybody, but I'm a very opinionated a-hole. But he intentionally writes things from both perspectives. That's why the news, parts of this remind me of like Dark Knight Returns or something, because it'll go to talking heads basically, where it's just, Frank Miller did the exact same thing, where it's just both sides just spewing crap at each other, to where the writing's really good because the arguments on both sides are dead on, like the same type of thing you'd hear in real world.
And they're both equally ridiculous. You know, like,
yes,
like they're both just glossing over some critical talking point.
But beyond just even the talking heads, he writes it intentionally so that you can't really tell which way Sean Murphy leans, which is in his real life, which is fine. And I suppose, you know, that's a good writer. He's not letting himself into the work. He's just representing the world. But I don't know. He does interesting things to where he'll have contradictory characters, like Duke, which is a very interesting take on Duke. Duke's a fairly recent character in the comics. Well, recent being the last like 2-3 years. But he's very different in this. But I don't know. There's aspects of Duke that are very...
This was almost Luke Cagey, the way that it's portrayed here.
Very, very much so. He'll intentionally kind of, but in a real way, mix, when it comes to characters, mix their viewpoints to where right-leaning and left-leaning, there's elements of both in these characters. I don't know. It's interesting.
It has a lot of interesting commentary on, I mean, we've kind of talked about the 1% kind of situation, the gatekeepers, the corporate elite, that whole thing, but then also the idea of an authoritarian police state type of situation as well.
When it hits on that, it handles it like I was saying with that dinner party scene or whatever you want to call it, that fundraiser scene. I think it handles that pretty well. It's interesting. It seems like it accurately depicts kind of upper class corruption. But then like when it really is pushing the idea of the elites and the gatekeepers, it's Jack Napier, who's essentially just using it to manipulate the public to his favor.
Right.
There's some things that I feel like shouldn't, I mean, in the real world, they are. It becomes, oddly enough, it becomes like a side, you know, a political issue that shouldn't be. A lot of the themes this plays on with corruption should not be. Even though it stems from politics, a lot of it, it should not be a political issue. It should not be a partisan type issue. It is what it is. It's corruption. Yeah. It's, you know, obvious in the real world and, you know, the corruption the book depicts.
Yeah.
After reading this, I read a couple interviews with Sean Murphy, and he said he's always amused at hearing people's reactions, like left-wing and right-wing reactions to his books, because he's always amused to the things that they latch onto.
The confirmation bias.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because he's like,
because they'll get
both
what they
sides
want from it.
feel like it vindicates them.
Yeah.
He's like, so
I could see that.
I like that everybody, no matter what, everybody's always like, Gordon's a good man. Like everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Even when his boss is like, you're inept, like that makes you an accessory and you're inept, but he's still like, you know,
yeah,
I know you're doing your best, but you're also inept and you're an accessory to all this.
Yeah.
So some of the points that we're not really talking about though, and I'm curious about this whole Neo Joker subplot that is born out of Jack Napier not being, I mean, like he's not entirely up and up. We get this idea that he's the Joker cured and now he's a good guy, but really he like lobotomizes Clayface and uses the Mad Hatter's tech to control, basically zombify and control most of Arkham Asylum.
He's using all the supervillains in a very supervillainous plot.
Yeah. Oh,
In a very super villainous way.
Yeah.
like more successfully than he ever did as the Joker.
Uh-huh. That's the thing Harley points out later, because he's towards the end, he's like, I tried to do it the right way, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, you didn't. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, this Harley Quinn has all this power and ability because she stole it from you. This is your doing. Like, you broke the law. And he's like, well, so does Batman. Or maybe she says that,
False
so does
equivalency.
Batman. What does it matter,
Yeah.
He genuinely thinks he's doing the right thing, but he is manipulating people like a dirty politician, and he's doing supervillain stuff.
Okay, and Jesse might be able to answer this for me because he's a karate guy, right?
Karate guy?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So tell me this: if somebody learns how to fight, are they going to be as good as somebody who spent the last, 20, 30, 40 years fighting?
Yeah,
the Joker's speed training there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
but he's on steroids.
I don't care.
Yeah, I know that's a leap.
I mean, at the very least, Batman's got muscle memory on his, on his side. I mean,
Right.
there's just no way. No way, Joker.
The only way that Joker gets a lick in here is if Batman's super tired and beat up already.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't play it that. I mean, he's emotionally tired, but they didn't play like they didn't.
This was no breaking of the
him.
bat. This was no Bane mastermind scenario. So
It is a stretch.
Yeah.
And this is what I think. I mean, other than the fact that that's how he essentially defeats Batman. Spoilers, but I like the scene that he gets to where Joker's finally, or Jack has finally accomplished what he wants, and he's like, "What have I?" He's weeping. What have I done?
Yeah.
That's fun, but or maybe fun's not the word. It's interesting.
I was to say,
Don't lie.
I do have some criticisms about this, but at the same time, I like this stuff. But okay, so I'd already paid for this, but going back through here and looking at these comics, this is an 8-issue arc. Each issue costs $3.99 a piece. I think this could have been tightened up. I don't know why it had to be 8 issues. I don't know why we had to wait until the end of issue 2, basically, to get Harley Quinn. I like the pace as I'm reading it, but as a consumer, I'm kind of like, wow, this is really expensive for how it's actually, coming out. I would have been mad if I had to wait a month between these issues. I'm glad that I read it all in one shot.
Mm-hmm. I think they make you pay $3.99 and wait a month so that they can put in half a book that you didn't want.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel, because there's a lot of subplot and extra stuff that I kind of like, but I also don't think it's necessary. Like, we got a lot more about Victor Fries than I think we needed.
Mm-hmm. But I didn't even mean Batman book. I meant other books. There's half of a freaking comic in there that I didn't want to read at the end of every issue.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of kind of extended previews at the end of these issues. Yeah,
and it was confusing slightly because I'm like, is this supposed to be relevant to the story or something? Why is this here?
Oh really? No, I didn't have that issue because the art changed significantly, and I could kind of tell. But I noticed at some point they started doing a thing where there's an extra border kind of or frame around it to where it better distinctly separates that from what you're
but there's sometimes when they have things afterwards, it still ties in.
It's like Superman American Alien, where you skipped over those little single page the backstory no, what's it called? Backups. The backups is what they call them.
Okay.
But yeah, they're tied to it, but they're just a little extra But in this case, you're not talking about that. You're talking about actual, basically advertisements,
Right.
previews of other
like
books.
5-page advertisements.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of them.
The thing is, though, this is clearly a graphic novel.
Right.
Like, it's still paced out for single issues. It still has kind of the single issue cliffhangers or little build-ups to where makes you want to read the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, this is obviously just, it's a graphic novel. It's paced and formatted more towards a graphic novel. But, you know, they got to do their double dip.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm at with this is like, I did read the first issue of the new run, but I think I'm going to wait because, and I know that's not great for the business model, but it's just unsustainable. I can't justify a $4 comic every month for 8 months when I could just wait.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's a $32, essentially, it's a $32 trade paperback.
Right.
Is what you're buying. And
I would never pay
ridiculous.
that much, you know? There's no
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. And you pay for it and they still give you ads. What
Yeah.
the crap is all that?
Oh, I know. Well, if you buy it as it's coming out, even in digital form, you're still paying same price per issue.
Yeah.
But like this has not popped up in the DC app. I don't think any of the Black Label stuff is, and I'm suspecting none of it will. The DC app has very few like graphic novels or limited. I mean, it has some limited run series, but for the most part, the DC app has a lot of the actual series. So that's, you know, I was kind of hoping this would pop up in the DC app at some point. It's been out for over a year now.
Yeah.
You know, going on 2 years. They're clearly not going to add this. So this isn't even the kind of thing that you can wait for the DC app to pick it up. So there are a few things in here that made me laugh while I was reading it last night.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't hear Melanie laugh once. I suspected that would be the case. But when Batman, okay, so you mentioned Clayface earlier.
Uh-huh.
Their plan with Clayface was interesting and kind of weird, but basically he uses Mad Hatter's mind control hat tech. Also, I did enjoy the Mad Hatter and Harley Quinn or Neo Joker's banter. I thought that was kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
Joker steals Mad Hatter's hat tech. The whole reasoning is kind of weird, but basically it's not powerful enough to mind control all of the supervillains at once. But they can mind control Clayface and turn Clayface into dust and feed a little bit of Clayface to all the supervillains and then basically use Clayface as a conduit.
Right. Like it's
Yeah.
like a blood connection type of thing then.
Or an amplifier.
Yeah. Which is a weird idea, but sure, whatever. I'll go with it.
It's like putting a little piece of tinfoil on everybody's head.
Yes. It's tinfoil tech. I like the way Clayface is drawn when he's like standing there just It's kind of grotesque. And then he turns just into powder and he's just a brain and eyes and a tongue with the Mad Hatter card stuck in his brain. But the part that really made me laugh is when just before Batman wrecks up the bridge and he pulls open Neo Joker's backpack and like...
Oh yeah, he just flops out.
Yeah, it's just like the frame is like the panel is just it's in his hand. The brain is in his hand suddenly, and he's like, "What in the?" You know, and just like his reaction is just like shocked.
Well, I mean,
It's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Super weird, but it was pretty cool. I thought it was a very humorous and twisted image. There was something else that made me laugh too, but I can't think of what it is offhand.
Batgirl on the rocket. How come I'm always on the rocket?
It was the Batgirl thing to where she's talking to Mr. Freeze. She's talking to Mr. Freeze and he's like, as Batgirl, and she's like referencing something she was helping with as Barbara the other day. And he's like, I'm assuming you're the young lady then that was helping Bruce Wayne the other day. And she's like, it cuts, the panel pulls out and she's in her Batgirl outfit. She's like, oh, I'm still in costume. That made me laugh.
Yeah.
It's like, duh.
Yeah.
Barbara's kind of interesting in this. Listener, judging by the conversation that I just edited out of this, I think we're done talking about this book. Oh, yeah. That Richard talk going.
Fine.
Melanie,
Ma.
would you recommend this book?
Sure.
Would you really?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm sure lots of people get, kicks out of it. I'm sure anybody who likes Batman would enjoy it, and everybody enjoys Batman, so pretty much everybody will like it. If they like things to, reference reality, they might have some issues with it, but that doesn't mean they can't enjoy it.
I don't think that's going to be a big problem for a Batman reader.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, they have a giant ice cannon under the city.
Yeah, but there's technology to explain that. Jeez. It's not like we don't have cryogenics in the real world.
There's pseudo psychology to explain Joker and Jack.
Yeah, but not people knowing things that they've never been exposed to before.
He's clearly suffering from multiple personality
He
disorder.
is, yes. That's because of all the lead that's in the water from the weird underground pipes that nobody knows about.
You just explained it away with science. This story makes
Exactly.
perfect sense.
Well, no, not all of it. the
People
proliferation,
proliferation.
yeah, whatever, of crazy people in Gotham. That's what I explained,
Yeah.
but not how Harley can think that she's in love with somebody that she's never met.
I don't know. I bet a lot of people do that all the time.
Well, kind of, but then they accept that they just had a mail order bride and not,
She did. Okay. She's super smart.
Mhm.
She did still run off with Joker and become a criminal and love it. So she's even old Harley is. We're not saying she's not unbalanced herself.
Oh, yeah.
But he's like supposed to be the perfect crazy. And if you're a psychiatrist, wouldn't the perfect crazy just be too perfect for you?
Not if it's fun.
What?
I don't know. I don't know what your point was either.
I'm saying it because he was so super crazy. That's why she loved him.
Hmm.
But anyways,
But maybe he was a fun crazy.
sure he was. He's a Joker. He's funny. Haha.
Okay, so. But he's not funny though. He even says he's not funny. He had to be shocking because everyone was numb.
But he still tries to make it funny.
Also, he's from the country.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Weird.
I didn't know. That.
It's one of those things where there's some Joker origin. Obviously, we got Jack Napier. It plays on the comedian, very much Killing Joke type. It's different, but kind of a Killing Joke type origin, but you just get a little more that he came from the country.
And I always thought, partially, that he wouldn't be able to love Harley because he was so in love with his wife that he had before he became Joker. If you go by that one.
But they didn't mention wife in this, so I don't know if they're playing on that or not. Well, because if well, yeah, that's the whole point, though. You're going to do an Elseworlds tale. You can change whatever you want.
Yeah.
Jason Todd before Dick Grayson, nobody does that. It's weird.
Well, and we didn't really say it, but big spoiler. Jason Todd's not dead in this. He just doesn't want to be Robin.
He just he would rather let Batman think he was dead and just disappear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But isn't Jason Todd like the red-headed guy now? Or Red Hood?
Red Hood?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So he's still alive in the regular continuity anyway, right?
Right, but it's a whole different deal. He actually did die in that, and they brought him back with a Lazarus pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but
That's a different story. That's something else.
I really wanted him to beat him to death with a crowbar.
He was about to cut his throat with a straight razor.
That's not even nearly as interesting.
But it's visceral. I like that whole bit, and I kind of wish, I don't know how they would have, but that should have like really hit Batman hard. That should have like destroyed him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm sure it.
I think that's part of it because, and they're still, like I said, they're still dealing with that in this new sequel series.
Does he come back? Is he the Red Hood now again?
Not that I'm aware of, no. But I mean, like this whole thing at the end, Batman basically is like, I got to tell people I'm Batman, because the one thing that the Joker or Jack Napier had right is that I'm wrong.
Yeah, he reveals himself to Gordon at least at the end of this.
And I could have swore that Gordon already knew who he was. Or maybe that's only in certain...
It just depends.
Again,
even in canon...
This is that Elseworld thing.
Even in canon, he sometimes knows, sometimes doesn't. Kind of depends who's writing him.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, He knows.
Everybody knows.
Well, they should know. It's pretty obvious. He doesn't even hide it. Like every villain who wants to figure out who Batman is able to trace the paperwork to Wayne Enterprises. In fact, he was publicly bankrolling Batman for a while in the canon comics, canon universe, and like nobody really.
Yeah. And you know, he's a billionaire, and Batman sure has a lot of nice, expensive looking toys. I wonder where they came from. Yeah.
And the Robins.
Yeah.
Like
I've got a
new Robin, or Robin disappears for a while and a new Robin shows up and somebody's like, hey, what happened to your ward? That other, no, not that new one who you just got, but the other one, disappeared around the time Robin disappeared, and then a new Robin.
And yeah.
Although I did love you hooligans.
Yeah.
He comes out, so they break into his house and find a secret room that he didn't. That place is just full of secret rooms that he didn't even know about the secret room.
Right.
Fortunately, they didn't find his secret rooms. So he comes to hide that he's Batman. He's just Bruce Wayne. He comes out in like a pink, what is it? Like a robe?
Bathrobe,
yeah. And he's like, oh, you hooligans, what do you want? Blah, blah, blah. You're like, what did you take? And they run off. Neo Joker and whoever she's mind controlling and Mad Hatter. And as Harley's running out, she's like, Neo Joker, she's like, hooligans? That sounded like somebody doing a bad impression of a rich person.
Yeah.
It's like, yep. But, there is some humor in this.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend this. This is one of my absolute favorite Batman stories I've read in a very long time. And of course, keep in mind, I've fallen off comics for a while, but even thinking back to when I was still reading regularly, I kind of have to reach pretty far back to hit a Batman comic I like quite this much. I don't know. I just enjoyed it. It surprised me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I would recommend it as well. I did not regret this read. I read it for fun, and I think that's part of the thing is we read a lot of books for the show, but we've gotten out of the habit of reading just for fun, and this was fun.
Sorry if I'm like the Debbie Downer of the group, and remember I'm always like, this is crap, but I gotta be real, man.
No, that's fine. When you were reading it and you were disappointed, I was a little like, oh, that sucks, because I wanted you to like it. I mean, obviously, I don't want you to dislike anything we have you read, but because it was a book where I was like, I think you're going to like it, and Jesse liked it, I liked it, you're going to like it, and then you were like, not really liking it that much, I was like, oh, that sucks. But for the purposes of the show, no, that's why I was kind of setting you up to really rip into it right off the bat.
Well, then I disappointed you twice. I'm sorry, baby.
You didn't disappoint me twice, because then you got into the Harley stuff and you ripped into it, and I'm like, oh yeah. No, it's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's kind of like GCU. When I tell Jasper, if you love this or hate this, and I have the opposite opinion, don't soften your opinion because of me. Because I feel like it's more interesting if there's a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
Not to force one if there isn't, but it could have just been three people raving about a book for, loving on a gushing all over this book for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But that's not that interesting.
I didn't dislike it. I just, there were elements of it that I didn't care for. That's all.
Well, and that will take you out of the narrative. If you're not buying it, then
yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like I was saying, the things that were bugging you are kind of integral to the entire, reason the book exists, the whole plot and everything.
So. I
get it. You seem more indifferent to it.